All right, so real quick here, I want to go over Joe Wood Jr.'s press conference he had today. Last week it was Cliff, and today it was Joe Wood Jr. So want to talk about some of the things he said in his press conference. Before that, though, just want to update you guys on the guys that weren't there at practice today. Same guys as last week, except for one new addition. Terry McLaurin, Lauren Tunsil, Marshawn Lattimore, all weren't there again. Not a surprise. Didn't expect any of those guys to show up again at practice. The last practice of OTAs. Actually, I think we have one more on June 6th, which is on Friday. But after that, no more OTA practices. Next week, we'll have mandatory mini camps. So from June 6th is the last day of OTAs. From there, just going to be mandatory minicamp for about 3 days, I'm pretty sure. And then after that, it's going to be dead for a little while until training camp. But we'll get there when we get there. But Michael Gallup, he was the additional guy that was not on the practice field today. Now, he was in the facility. He just did not practice. So my guess is maybe he tweaked a little something, maybe in his lower body, upper body. I'm not sure, but, you know, maybe he was under the weather or something like that. I'm not sure what it is, but, you know, maybe he just wasn't feeling right for practice today, and he did not practice. We really didn't get an answer from Dan Quinn. Wish one of the media members would have asked him about that, but they didn't, so it is what it is. But Michael Gallup did not practice today, and I don't see it as a big issue, you know, really at all, but just wanted to update you guys on that. Moving on to some of the things that Joe Wood Jr. had to say, want to start with what he had to say about Trey Amos, and he talked about a couple of the defensive rookies. He talked about Kamadrono today. Might not get to that, but he talked about Trey Amos, and he said that Trey Amos is ahead of the curve when it comes to, you know, just progressing as a rookie, which is really good to hear, man. I mean, last week we heard that Trey Amos had an interception off of, I'm pretty sure it was Jaden, and he almost had another interception off of Sam Hartman. So that's really good to hear, man. I'm super excited for Trey Amos. We all expect him to be the starting outside cornerback opposite of Marshawn Lattimore, and we all expect him to be a very solid outside cornerback. Obviously, you know, he'll have his struggles this season with him being a rookie cornerback. You know, I feel like cornerback as a rookie is one of the harder transitions to make because, I mean, there's elite receivers, great receivers all over the NFL nowadays, right? So a little tough making that transition. However, I think Amos is going to end up being really, really good for us for sure. He also talked about, let's talk about Kamadrono. And Witt said Kamadrono is a unique player because, you know, will he end up as a Jeremy Chin or will he end up as a Frankie Louvu? That's what Joe Wood Jr. said. And Jeremy Chin, last year, as you guys know, he played a lot in the box. Sometimes was deep, but played a lot in the box. Kamadrono, obviously a linebacker, so he's going to play a lot down near the line of scrimmage. And will he be rushing the quarterback like Frankie Louvu does? That's why Joe Wood Jr. said what he said. Will he be a Jeremy Chin or a Frankie Louvu? That's what they're figuring out at this time. So it'll be really interesting to see how, you know, they use Kamadrono. Year one, I expect him to be used a lot on special teams, but who knows? He may have an impact on the field, but it's going to be hard, you know, getting playing time with Jordan McGee ahead of you, who they have high hopes for, and the two all-pro starting linebackers in Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu. Joe Witt then went on to discuss how he expects big things from Daron Payne and Quan Martin this year. Let's start with Daron Payne. Joe Witt emphasized how much Payne has looked great this offseason, like through OTAs and just this offseason as a whole. Daron Payne has looked really, really good according to Joe Wood Jr. and Dan Quinn. So that's good to hear. I mean, this is basically a pseudo contract year for Daron Payne, and I think he knows that himself. I mean, you saw John Allen get cut a couple of months ago, right? He did not play up to expectations this past year and really has not since 2022, right? When he made the Pro Bowl back in 2022 and made the Pro Bowl back in 2021, back-to-back Pro Bowls. He was not at that level this past season. Obviously, he was hurt for the majority of the year, but before he got hurt, he wasn't playing great, right? You know, same with Daron Payne. He wasn't great this past season either, so we have an out on his contract next year. So after this year, if he does not play well, we can just simply let him go, just as we did with John Allen. So he knows what's at stake. That's why I say it's a pseudo contract year for him, because although he has 2 years left on his deal, it's really just 1 year because we have an out next year, and if he doesn't perform well, then, you know, we can just let him go, right? So, you know, they know Daron Payne has to step up. Payne knows that if he doesn't, then it's over for him. His time in Washington is no more. So hopefully he does step up. And then, like I said, Joe Wood Jr. talked about Quan Martin, and he said that Quan has the potential to be one of the best safeties in the entire NFL. And honestly, I don't think that's far-fetched. You know, coming out of college, Quan Martin, he did have a pretty high ceiling. You know, he was one of the most athletic slot cornerbacks or nickel cornerbacks slash safeties in the entire draft class. I think he jumped over 40 inches at the combine, right? So super athletic guy, and he does have a pretty high ceiling. And Quan has gotten better each and every year, right? Like in his rookie season, he showed some flashes. His past season, he showed more flashes. Think he was pretty decent. You know, nothing amazing, nothing spectacular, but also got to consider that he was dealing with 2 bad shoulders, and that's just a tough dude right there. Like dealing with 2 bad shoulders, and the shoulder injuries occurred at different times, right? I think one occurred earlier in the year, one occurred later in the year or middle of the year. Not 100% sure, but 2 shoulder injuries. Yeah, he gutted it out, started all 17 games. I'm pretty sure all 17 games. Let me just double check that. But I think he played all 17 games. So that just shows you how tough Quan Martin is, man. Yeah, he actually played in 16 out of 17 games. So he missed 1 game, but pretty close to playing all 17 games, starting all 17 games. So Quan Martin, tough dude, and we'll see if he breaks out this year, man, because he could, man. You never know. He has the talent, and he's gotten better each and every year. And another year in the system, hey, man, it could happen. So Quan Martin, definitely am excited to see what he has in store this year. So that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like down below, subscribe if you're not already subbed up, and turn on notifications. Comment down below your thoughts on the final week of Commanders OTAs. Next week, mandatory minicamp starts. I may preview that, so you know, stay tuned for that video. Will probably come out before the start of mandatory minicamp. And other than that, it's me, King Sean, and I'm out. Peace.